For ghosted view, we have a default of edge thickness and transparency for each one of these objects, and by default they'll use the same color of the layer that they're on. So I'm going to go quickly and make this into something that's a little bit more friendly for a screenshot. So if I go into my options and then I go to my appearance, I click down on that and go to colors, I can change my background here to white. If I click OK, I'm going to turn all the grid lines off here. So if I go to grid, and then I can go up to the top, show grid no, show grid axes no, and show world axes no. And what that's going to do is that's going to give me just objects floating on a white screen. So what I can do here is if I go into my options and then I go down to the bottom again to view display modes, and then I go into my ghosted view, what I can do here is I have a lot of control over my transparency of my objects. So this would be fully opaque all the way up to fully transparent. And if you go to fully transparent, then it's basically just going to show what your edges are. So let's keep this around 70, and then we can also change around the glossiness of this. The glossiness won't really affect it too much because these are just solid colors and not actual materials. So the object color you can change. So if you wanted all of the objects to be a shade of black, you could do single color for all objects, and then you can change the color here. So if you wanted it to appear a certain color and you didn't care what layer they were on, you can do things like that there. Again, you can change some of the lighting. You can actually add things like lighting into this. We're not going to do that here. And then if we go down, we can again choose what we're actually going to show here. So if we show the ISO curves, it will actually turn ISO curves onto these surfaces. And then here, edge thickness, again, like the last tutorial, will control the sort of fatness of those edges. So let's say that we want two different types of ghosted within the same file. So if we go into our display modes and we go to ghosted, we can just create a copy of that, and then copy of ghosted will pop up. And we can go here, and let's say we want this one to actually be much less. Let's actually turn that down even further. So let's say we want that to go to 30, and then we want this to be a slightly different color. Then let's click OK. So now we see that they're both still the same, and that's because if we go into our perspective view, we see that we're still in ghosted. So what I'm going to do is a command called set object display mode, and then I can select this object if I want to change that one, and I can go to mode here. See how it's in use view? That will mean that it uses whatever viewport this is in. And then if we go to copy of ghosted, what that will do is it'll change just that one object. So the nice thing is here, if I now go into something like my Arctic view, it'll still add shadows to this object, but it's going to keep the ghosted, the sort of ghosted properties of it. So you can do here something like where you're calling out a highlight color or something like that. You can call out through something like a ghosted view. Again, if you're doing something like this, what you might want to do is go into your options. Since you're going to be doing something like a make 2D over top anyway, we can go in and we can actually turn the edges totally off, and then you would look something like that. So this would look really nice if you had something like dotted lines behind this to show the back edge of this, and then a full profile around. So this is one way that you can add a lot of graphic effect really quickly to some of your drawings. So for something like the project that you're currently working on, so project 1, I would say maybe your final massing is something like this, and then you start to pull pieces off that are a little ghosted, and then you even add maybe a third graphic style for those pieces that are actually then exploded off. So we can make this a super light. So if we go into our options, maybe if this was a piece that was, say, exploded off, maybe we would want that to be super light. So we would do something like that. And then obviously once we add line work over top of it, it would begin to look something like that. So maybe you have like your final, and then you have pieces that you're pulling off, and then you have another graphic style for the third type of piece.